Ready to get the inside scoop on equity funding? Tune in to TDJ Equity Funding Insiders Podcast for an in-depth look at what it takes to access financial capital and maximize your investments. Hear from experienced professionals, including bankers, underwriters, loan officers, and industry experts as they share their unfiltered stories and valuable lessons on securing funds.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming to our podcast. This is TDJ Equity Funding Podcast Insiders Podcast. Sorry about that. I am your host, Jacqueline Jackson, and today we're actually going to have a really great guest for you all to talk to, my guest host for you all to listen to. He's bringing something that I think as businesses you need. As some of you all are aware, the podcast that we have, because we're loan brokers, we see some of the problems that a lot of our businesses have when they come to us. Some things that we have to stop because we can't help you because you don't have certain things in place. So what we're trying to do is not only give you insights of what you need to do for us get money, but we also want to help you with your business so your business will be ready to receive money. So with that said, our guest that we have today is George Mayfield, and he's actually a strategist growth consultant. Okay, he's from Texas, and so he's coming to visit with us to talk to how he can help businesses. So let's start out and let's welcome him and for our show. Thank you for coming, George.
Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
I am excited. We want to start off because, like, you know, you and I have talked before about how businesses are lacking the knowledge of what they need to do to be successful. Because a lot of people, especially with COVID, they started businesses. And now with a lot of strikes and stuff going on, people are really looking at starting their own business.
Yeah.
And one thing all business need is money. But I think what people think that getting money is a guessing game. And as a loan broker, we're here to tell you it's not a guessing game. Either you're going to get it or you're not based on how you look. End of story. So having you along, because they don't really, if they have a growth strategist or something what you're going to talk about, what we see is that it actually prepares them and make them more fundable if they have that set up in their company. So that's why it's important. We want you to come today so you can talk to our listeners about what you do and how you help the business qualify for loans.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, thank you for having me here. And we've had some really good conversations actually about that. And just to talk to the listeners a little bit more, what we do as Frameworks Consortium is we are a fractional C-suite of advisors that help the business owner and help guide them and direct them. And the first thing that we do when we bring in a client is to look at their company, where they've been for the last 3 years or so, where they are now and where they want to go. And a lot of times they can't really answer those questions. We kind of have to help them out.
Right.
And that's fine. But once we do that, we know what the companies are really good at and what they're not so good at. And then we help them to fill in those gaps. And so a lot of times what happens is they need funding in order to close in those gaps. And so we try to help them to look more attractive to banks and different, financial institutions, whether they even be grants or whatever it is, so that, whoever they're asking for money can say, do you have a plan for putting this money into place? Is it actually going to help your business grow? And can we feel good about that? Is that going to make your business strong enough to where you can actually pay us back? So it's very important to be able to enunciate exactly what you need, why you need it, and what it's going to do to affect your business.
Okay, so exactly. So basically what you're saying is that you give them some type of guidance getting toward the money, but you also give them guidance after they receive the money.
Absolutely.
Right. And that's something I think, again, I don't think entrepreneurs know this type of service is really out here because it's so confusing. So let's be honest. We all realize there's a lot of stuff we're being hit with on a day-to-day basis, all kind of new stuff that's coming out, and we're like, oh, here we go again. So what happens, I think we miss as business owners, we may miss some things that are really good for us to do for our business because we don't know or we're busy. So what we're seeing here, this is nothing that's new, what he does, but I think it's new to people understand it. And I like the way George and his team has put it together to simplify that basically whatever you need starting out with your company, or whether you've been in it for 10 years, you've been working it for years, they are a resource to come to pan you out where you could be lucrative and at the same time you could receive money. So with that said, give us an example of where having what you do has helped a person to actually wind up results of getting money by having your type of business attached to them.
Yeah, so we've worked with clients before, and that needed to implement some sort of systems and processes. I come from an operations background, and that's kind of where we started. Okay. The company was Frameworks Consulting, and we really just focused on operations. And so in doing that, a lot of times we would work with those businesses and find out that they have other providers. And so those businesses have reached out to, bookkeepers or HR people or whoever it is, and we never really meet those people. And then so what we saw was that there was a gap in that in ourselves. So what we're able to do now is bring all of those companies in together for that business owner, and that really helps them to stay more organized. It helps them to understand what's going on in their company. It helps us to fully help them. So imagine, if you go to a doctor and you might have some specialists. If you only ever saw those specialists and those specialists didn't talk to each other, you'd be spending a lot of money. And each one of those specialists may be recommending something that they may not recommend if they knew what that other doctor was recommending. So what we are is more of that, sort of that general doctor that comes in and, gives you the referrals to go out to these specialists.
PCP.
Exactly. And it really just helps them to stay on top of everything, and it helps us to help them, march towards their main goals.
Right, and that is a wonderful, great analogy to look at it as you guys being the PCP, because I think what we do as business owners is that we don't even know a connection need to be made. And I hadn't realized that, like I said, I've been talking to you along with some others, and we're finding out that connection is really important, because even in our company, we do that. Because when you do not talk to each other that's handling parts of the business, then there's going to be a non-cohesiveness that's not going to be there, period. And we just think in business, we don't have to do that. Now, this is what I want to say, and I know you probably agree with it. The way we did business 20 and 10 years ago is not the way it's being done today.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the technology and for as you keeping the businesses where they can be a part of that and still grow, how do you guys help them to navigate from where they used to be to what they do now? How do you do that?
Yeah, so getting them from what they used to do to where they do now, that's what our C-suite is there for, right? Okay. So we're all experts in our own discipline. So our CHRO, for instance, she is up on all of the HR laws. Like there's new laws, because of COVID, all kinds of laws. That happening every year. And, she's going to stay on top of that because that's what she does. That's her expertise, and as an operations person, I knew when I was helping people before we created Frameworks Consortium, I knew we needed job descriptions, right? And I could say, we need a job description in place. It needs to look like that. Here's some free templates from the internet. But that CHRO is really going to know a lot of what that company needs in their place to make sure that they have the right team. Same could be said for the CIO. They know what sort of technologies and what mixture of technologies is going to help this company in the best way. Now, when we all work together as a team, we can come up with a really good winning plan for that company. Now, a lot of times whenever people are not talking, so you mentioned that, we talked a little bit about that before. I was actually talking to one of my clients' bookkeepers for the very first time the other day. And as an operations consultant, we were helping them to implement a system in their company that talked to their QuickBooks and would be able to pull inventory items in, for projects into this system so they could see how much they're spending on equipment and labor and all of these things. And we finally were able to have a meeting with their bookkeeper. And we found out that their bookkeeper has already been trying to clean up their chart of accounts for the last year.
Okay.
But their bookkeeper's coming at it purely from a tax-oriented perspective.
Right.
They want to get that chart of accounts set up so that whenever they file taxes, it makes it easy for them. It makes it, look more attractive to the government,
Right.
And I'm sure it makes it more attractive to banks as well. But what's more attractive to banks is to look at that operational chart of accounts and to see, sure, you may be filing your taxes this way, and it helps you to get the best tax rates. But if you are able to look at your books and see how you're doing operationally, and especially if you're doing well, you're going to be a lot more attractive to somebody that's trying to lend you money.
And that's true, because as a loan broker, that's what we look at. We look at the financials, and we have to tell people many times what you turn in for taxes may be different, a different view of what a lender is going to look for. And the only way you're going to know that if you bring people in that can guide you. And it's not you bring on a CPA and they're going to do everything that you talking about doing. So we definitely want y'all to understand everything we talking about you need is not a CPA that can do all of that. That's not what they do. That's why it's important to meet these guys, like I say, like your PCP, your main doctor you go to first, and then they'll get all the specialists and bring them into you so you can make an intelligent choice of what you want to do. Now, I think that's what, like I said, one thing I think that's really good about with your company is because you look at everything of going on with them. And see, that's what I don't think a lot of our listeners and entrepreneurs know. It's available that they can come to you and you could start that plan for them so they don't have to be out here by themselves. Is that basically how you work? So how does that relationship grow, or how is it with you and your clients when it comes to helping them do everything they need to do? How does that work?
Yeah. So, again, talking a lot about like a doctor, if you are, just you and I, right, we might go to the doctor once a year, maybe even once, just every couple of years. Right. And, the first thing we do when we go in to see that doctor is they're going to take our blood pressure, they're going to weigh us, they're going to take a couple of measurements on our body. Right. Okay. And, but we're not getting that done every day. Right. We might be stepping on a scale ourselves, but maybe I know I don't. Right. So, but if you're an athlete, you've got that doctor coming to you every single day. They're taking your weight. They're looking at your muscle mass. They're looking at all of these things. And why do they do that? It's because an athlete is making money with their body. Right. It's very important to them. And it's very important to whatever team that they're working for, is that they are able to perform in the best way that they can. Right. And your business is an athlete. You're there to perform. And so you should be looking at these measurements on a daily basis, on at least a monthly basis. And what we do is we help them to monitor those KPIs. We're looking from all of those different perspectives. Whether we're looking at how satisfied your employees are, how often they're dealing with IT issues, what your finances will look like on a monthly basis. A lot of business owners, they'll just look at their bank account once a month, or maybe even a daily, like what is my revenue coming in? How much money am I spending? And that's the only KPIs that they look at. Right. And that's just not a good way to run a business if you truly want to perform.
Right. And understand that key KPIs are like key performance indicators. And if we're mentioning anything to you guys that you're not familiar with, that's an indication you need to call. You need to call them, because these are things, whether you know it or not, they are needed in order you to perform well in business. And that's what people have to understand. Whether you know what to do or not, it's being done, and it's going to be judged whether you get a loan or not based on what you've done. So just because you don't know, they're not going to give you a loan and say, oh, you didn't know this, so I'm going to give you $1 million. That's not happening. So it's best to get with someone like George, his company, to kind of guide you starting out on this. And you don't have to know everything. A lot of us in business, we think we have to know a certain amount of stuff before we can talk to anybody. And no, you don't. That's what you all are for. You're more comfortable. So when it comes to getting funding, specifically, how would having you on board help them to get that funding? Exactly.
Well, that's actually happened in several cases with our clients, because a lot of times, like the business owner doesn't even know how to talk to their banker. They don't really know how to talk about, what systems that they're putting in place. I'm putting in an ERP. I don't even know what that is, right. But we're able to come in and say, what we're going to do is we're going to put in this system. And it's going to be able to help us to understand what their inventory looks like. It's going to help us to understand, what their movement looks like. It's going to be able to help the company make better decisions on what they need to buy from manufacturers because they know they're going to sell it. Right. It helps them to identify trends and things like that. So we can help the banks, and the businesses by, just talking and walking them through what they need that money for and how we expect the banks are going to get their,
because they ask those questions. Yeah. What are you using the money for? They
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, a bank is a business, they're not just there to say, hey, I got money. I just got extra money I'm going to give out. Right. They're a business. Right. And as you imagine, if you're, if you have a son or a daughter or even just an employee that says, hey, I want $100 to invest in myself. You're going to say, well, what are you going to do with this $100? Right. Exactly. And they better have a good answer or you're not going to do it.
Right. And that's how it is with the banks. I think people don't think, like I have to tell folks, the banks, the lenders ask you questions they pretty much already got the answers to. They just want to see what you're going to say and how much you know. So when I said you didn't have to know anything to reach out to George, you don't, because he's going to help you. He's going to educate you. But when you're doing a loan and going to a bank or to a lender, then you're going to have to know your KPIs.
Yes.
Okay. You're going to have to know those numbers. Now, they may ask it in a way that may not say KPI, but if they say, well, let me see your profit and loss statement, and they go and look at your operational expenses and what you're doing and what's your net, they're figuring out already what you look like. So that's what I'm saying. So it's important for you to know what the banks know in order for you to get the loan. And that's where you guys come in, because you're educating them on everything they need to know in order to get the loan, what they need to look like and what you need to look like after you get the loan. How you going to pay the loan? A lot of people will call us and, the first day they say, I said, well, how much money are you trying to get? As much as I can get. Oh, no, that's not the way that goes. Because what we have to do is what you qualify for. And I don't think they realize. That's why we said, our team said it was so important to get you on our podcast, because people need to understand. They need you in order to get this money, to understand it and get more. Now, you may get, hold on, let me say this. Some people get $20,000, $30,000. But when you bring in, I call y'all key performance guys. If you bring in a growth consultant guy that works with you on your key and growing your company, you can get not only more money, but you can get more money over time as much as you need it, because your business is going to sustain it and show it.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's what I think is a good point. So what would be what would be one of your most advice that you can give business owners today when it comes to funding?
And we've kind of already touched on this, but the most important advice that I would give to any business owner is that you are not alone. There are people like myself that are out there to help you. And within my organization, we're always bringing in vetted service providers that do the work. We're working with bookkeepers, we're working with lawyers, and just any service that a business might need. And then not only are we just referring you to somebody that we like, that we like to have a beer with, this is, we're referring people in that their mission and culture, their values match our clients. Okay. So there's many, many different ways to provide bookkeeping services, for instance. Okay. But, we match the ones that match our clients the best, so that they hit the ground running. They speak the same language. They know what's going on. They come in there and they, yep, we know what's going on here. We've seen this before, and let's hit the ground running. Right. And then we all work together as a team. Okay. So the biggest advice I can say is, don't have the ego to think that you have to do this all alone. Just put yourself in a room with other people that have better skills. You as a business owner are really good at whatever it is you started your business to do. Right. And it's probably unlikely that you started a business that helps other businesses. Right. So, and if it is, eat your own dog food, right? Right. Right. That's a good way to look at that. So what you're basically saying is just to get help. Don't sit there and don't get it. And I know what you're saying when you talk about like people with different needs that they need and you all can give it to them, which is I consider it custom, because like you may have a client that have, and you correct me if I'm wrong, like they may have technology issues. In other words, they're doing a lot of stuff that's manual that could be automated, or how they got it now with stuff is, I guess with Rapid, they're connecting with automation and all that stuff. Like, I don't know none of that stuff. But I know you all bring that to companies where it benefits and is more profitable for them to have. So I guess what I'm saying too is, my takeaway that I get from it that I think is important for them to know is that you need to understand your business. And if you don't understand your business, you need to go and learn your business. And that's what you guys do, because you work with those different elements already. Yep. You just partner them up with the clients that need certain things for them. Absolutely. Right? So basically, you're just a counselor that they can come talk to you and work this thing out on everything, their business on growing and everything. And in turn, it works for us because we're able to give you money if you show that you are set up like that. So that's what's important. And remember, you all, we're talking today mainly of what you need to do with your business in order for you to be fundable. You don't have to guess at it and pray for it, throw it on the wall and hope something stick with this application. You don't have to do any of that. All you have to do is get with someone that can help you set your business up or look at your business and see what you need and what you don't need. Am I correct? And that's how you all do it. Absolutely. So how do they
any recommendations as far as for our listeners for more information about your industry and about you guys? Like I said, definitely want to talk about your book as well.
Yeah.
So if you would give us some enlightenment on that a little bit.
Yeah, so I wrote this, Frameworks for Business Success. This book is, it took me about a year and a half to write, but it was kind of a labor of love because I really wanted to get this message out to business owners. And you don't have to call me. I don't know how many consultants would come in here and say that. You don't have to call me. Get this book and just read it. You could do it yourself. But you're going to need help because that's what this is all about, is that you cannot do this alone. And, even if you are a really, really good, I keep using bookkeepers. I like bookkeepers. But, let's say you are a really good bookkeeper and you started a pool cleaning business and you want to keep doing your books. That's fine. Mm-hmm. That's fine. But, like we talked about before, doing your taxes is different than, filling out paperwork for a bank or being able to explain or look at KPIs for your bank. And if you are a really good bookkeeper, are you also really good with your IT? Are you also good at making sure that your emails that you're sending out to potential clients are making it to your potential clients because you have your email set up? Just all of these different things. Are you good at, training up employees, right? You can't be good at everything, right? So you just can't do it alone. And this book has, several chapters in it basically on all the things that I thought were the big frameworks that a business needs to operate. And these are a lot of things that, most business owners don't have an MBA. A lot of business owners haven't even worked for a corporation, or if they have, they haven't seen, all the different departments and how it works. Okay. And so I do have that background. And, I come from a background also, I grew up in a small town working with, entrepreneurs that were, welders. I had a cousin that cut horses, which doesn't mean what you think it does.
Well, what does that mean? We need to explain that.
Yeah, that's it's like racing horses.
Okay.
Like Texas racing.
Because I like horses.
Yeah, so they'll train those out. Okay. So I've worked for small businesses before, and I've was in the military. I saw how big operations work, and then went to college, got my MBA, learned from books from people like Michael Porter, and just all of those frameworks that they teach you in an MBA. And then I started working for corporations. And then back to small business again, because that's really, really where my heart is. Right. And then when I started consulting with them, I thought, these business owners have, what I love about small business is it is the backbone of our economy.
It is.
It is. And I predicted about 2 years ago, whenever COVID was hitting, my prediction was that there are going to be a lot more smaller business, and small business is going to play even more of a role in our economy as corporations are no longer relying on full-time employees, full-time departments. They're starting to let go of these employees, let go of these departments, outsource this, outsource that. And so who are they outsourcing to? They're outsourcing to small business, right?
That's true.
And so if you're a small business and you're an IT company, and you're just working for the mom and pop little shops, and that's fine. But, these corporations are looking to hire you.
Exactly. Exactly.
And how can you scale from working with residential to the mom and pops, from scaling from the mom and pops to being able to work with a corporation? You're going to have to show the corporation too how you're operating and how you're improving and how you're going, what your plans are to improve your company so that you can serve them better. They're going to be looking at your company just like they were looking at their employees several years ago.
And a lot of that comes in a form of a RFP.
Yes.
Now, what an RFP is basically a proposal for bids. If you have ever went, please just go look one up. Do one for the airport, anybody. The RFP is so darn thick and technical. If that don't tell you, you don't know what you're doing. Just read it. It will tell you that. But I'm just saying, no, I'm just playing. So what I'm saying is that you can help them to prepare where they can look good for corporation, because they are beginning business off our helps. And you're right. A lot more people are getting into the entrepreneurship and everything right now. But what they don't understand, the technology and what's happening now, in order for you to stay in business and to be successful, you're going to have to wind up facing all this for your framework.
Absolutely.
Whether they come to you or not, it's out there, and you need to. We're giving you a resource to come to where you can start with the help. And we're talking about if they start off as a small business, you can still work with them, and you're going to help them to grow as they grow. So he's not looking at you coming with all these people. Just come yourself and make the phone call. email us. You can definitely know that. Our email is tdjequityfundinginsiderspodcast.net. You can send us an email and reach out to us, and we'll definitely get you with George so you all can kind of get with them, because these are things that you need if you coming to us for money. Now, let me take a minute to say on our side. When people come to us, they have brought us financials that are not correct. Mm-hmm. And when I talk to them about it, they don't even know how to correct. So it has to go back to the CPA, which we'll wind up eventually getting some correct ones. But this is what I tell them, and I'm going to tell my owners. You must know your own numbers, okay? CPA is just there to prepare your taxes. Before it's your strategy or how you're going to save and what you're going to do, that's a different way to look at that, okay? And this is where they come in with, and what I think I love about their group that they have, George has, where you're not going to be paying extra for the same thing or paying double. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Because sometimes we're a business owner, we're paying for stuff that we're already paying for stuff.
Yes.
So he comes in and kind of help you and give you a guide. And it's any size business. Am I correct? That he takes.
Yeah.
Just get the phone call, just call him, so he can kind of start helping you there. And it helps us as loan brokers, and all of us appreciate him, because he gets you together where we can go and get you approved faster. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's important. We wanted to bring him onto the show to let you know this service and this entity is available and it's out here. You're not by yourself, and that you can just contact us or contact George. Like I said, we have his information as well for you guys, so you all can kind of be in contact with him. So to round up what we're doing today, is there any final words you think that you would like the listeners to know?
Well, like you mentioned, I have a heart for everybody. Even if you're a solopreneur, if you're a stay-at-home mom and you're a photographer, like you're running a business just on.
Well, even
side.
if we're thinking about doing a business,
you're thinking about it,
okay.
Go to my website, it's frameworksconsortium.com. Mm-hmm. Scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you'll see some tools. So we've got different things there. If you're in Dallas, we'd love to connect you with some networking events. I have a lot of different tools that I use, for company promotion or to run your business. Like, these are the tools that we like to use. So we like to give that information out to people. So even if, we're not a good fit to come and work with you, we do still like to, give you tools and be a resource.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. So you're saying no matter what, just give you a call just to talk. I mean, if you can help him, you help him. If you can't, he'll direct you where you can. And I like that. Yes. I like that. George will direct you where you can get help instead of, I can't help you, and hang up. I love that part about you, because you are connected, and you have a lot of partners that work within your suite, but you also help people that you can help by giving them just information as well.
Absolutely.
So you guys, we have no reason for us not to make the call. We should make the call, and we definitely want you to do that. We do understand, again, what we brought into you all guys today was bringing in Mr. George to come in and talk to you about getting that appointment with him. Hopefully, if it's not with him, with someone like him. Okay, that can help you with your business. I just don't want you all to think that you can continue to do business off your hip. You really need to get professional help, especially when you start talking about the money and stuff. So we're looking at, like I said, the loans that we've done. I mean, people went from 300,000 to 1.7 million, but they had their stuff together. And that's where that came in a lot. A lot of them was dealing with where they were told they're going to get this much money, and we show where they can get more, because once they got with people like George, they were able to add the value and help them get all their key indicators in place, that when we did the financials and they did all that, it looked so good that the lenders were like, yeah, we can fund this one. So that was a difference. And that's just my story of a difference of not having your sort to help with a client compared to when they're by themselves. So it did make a difference, because the client had some indications that he'd already worked with his consultant on and had showed him the framework. And that's why it was easy for him to pull all this for his hospice company. That was awesome. So that's why I know we are glad to have him on the show. We want him on the show because he's bringing something that business owners are not naturally aware of. So we do want to thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having me here.
Hey, anything else you think that you would like to say to the listeners? I know you told them about your website, and we're going to put your website up, right? Because you gave us a website. So we'll have that on where you guys can have that as well, access. And then the book, we'll also put this. They can go to your website and order the book.
Yeah, my website, it's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble,
Okay.
Your local bookstore, support your local business, right? So go to your local library and ask them to stock it if you don't want to buy it. You know?
Oh, you can do that?
You can do that. You can do that. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
and I would recommend, even if you're going to get a consultant that isn't me, get this book, flip through it. Even if you're not going to read the whole thing, I understand it's thick, right? I understand. That's how much information I feel like business owners should know.
Exactly.
But even just flip through it that way. If you do get another consultant, you can say, hey, what about this?
Right.
And just to make sure that you can vet out your own help, right? Because there's a lot of people out there that are out, maybe they just bought into some franchise and they're like they're going to come in and coach you, and they don't really know what they're talking about.
They just got business in a box. Just say it.
Yeah.
And they sell it to you. That's what it is.
That's it. Yeah. Right. So just be careful. Be careful. I've seen business owners get into that sort of thing, and they're off in some direction that, they're getting coached in some direction because the person who's telling them hasn't been where they are.
Exactly.
They haven't really looked at their business. They're trying to just sell them this, and they didn't dig into your business. You don't want to go to a doctor that doesn't check your vitals.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So you basically saying, like with his book, you got a guideline. That's what we're trying to say.
Absolutely.
Something to start with, and I think that is great. So it's Frameworks for Business Success, okay, by George Mayfield. You wrote this book for real?
I did.
Okay, he said for real, y'all.
For real.
Okay, so I think you all need to go get the book. It's a guideline of what's available for you as a business, period. And then they can also get in touch with you in here.
Yeah,
if they
absolutely.
decide they want to get with you.
My contact information's here in the book as well.
Is in there.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Oh, great. Well, that is great.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I want to thank you again for coming in. I have enjoyed it.
This has been a lot of fun. Thank you.
And we would definitely want to have you to come back, in a year to go back, because we're going to actually do a little bit more with the growth strategy for businesses, because we may have certain things going on that we definitely need you all to be a part of, and we'd like for you all to be there for education. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again. And also, we want to thank you guys for tuning in to us today. We also want to let you all know that you can subscribe to us on any of your favorite podcasts, TDJ Equity Funding Insiders. Please subscribe so you can be in the know when we have some new ones coming up. And we are going to be talking about some things that's really more in tune of, continuing to more of in tune of you getting funding. We're going to continue that. Also tune in to our YouTube channel, which is TDJ Equity Funding Strategies. And that's on our YouTube. And definitely go there, because we have a lot of videos and tapes that are talking about this. This one will actually be there as well, along with things we're giving you resources and tools that's located to help you understand the funding world, or how to get money for your business. Again, I want to thank you guys. Until next time, you take care.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of TDJ Equity Funding Insiders Podcast. If you'd like to be a guest or get in touch with us, please visit our website at tdjequityllc.net/podcast or email us at podcast@tdjequityfundinginsiders.net. Until next time, take care.